Yeah, Bob, are you with us?
Yeah, wait a minute. I had somebody on the phone. There we go. Thanks for having me here. I appreciate being able to come in and chat with everybody. And I'm always somewhere else at this time of night, but I just finished Skype. I do a lot of Skype presentations to clubs, and I did the club at Collins Manufacturing, Collins Radio in Cedar Rapids, quite a club up there. And I do a couple of these a week, and it's really a lot of fun. But that's what we've been doing, and we're here. So Pete wanted me to come on and holler at everybody. So here we are, and I'm using the PR77. This is a new product that I've been working on for a couple of years. It's a retro of the RCA 77. They used to call it the Pill. Harry Olson designed this. Harry worked for Bell Labs and then went to RCA. Did a lot of the designs for either, and he was quite an engineer. And this was his baby, and you used to see him back in the 30s and 40s recording and broadcast. I guess the most prestigious was being on the desk of Johnny Carson for many, many years. So now that I said that, why you can recognize what it looks like. That's why they call it the Pill. So that's the story. I got it plugged straight into an ICOM transceiver and 922 amplifier, phased array up about 65 feet. No outboard anything. It's just plugged straight in. So here you got what you got. And that's the way I test things. We can shape things anyway, but it doesn't tell you what the microphone is. So there you go, Pete.
Yeah, so I just switched over to the PR77 Delta. There's some slight differences between the 77 and the PR40. And one of the things I noticed is that you don't really need a windscreen on the PR77. And it also seems very warm. I know you can get right up on it and just really close talk it with a lot of success. Is that are you hearing that from other people?
Oh yeah. We did it that way. It was designed to be able to do that because we have more space in that top screen, so we can do more of the acoustic foam in it. And the element sits back a little bit further. So, yep, that helps at all, and it's something that you can use to work the microphone. And a lot of people don't understand working a microphone. They're all different, and you need to figure out the sweet spot for each of them.
Roger that. Now tell us a little bit about the price point on the 77 Delta. I think is less than the PR40. Was that done on purpose, or how did you come up with the price for it? And it seems to be a great value for what you pay. The price point on the 77 Delta,
well, the situation there is that we have less of the mounting. We don't have the collection tube as we do in the PR40. So there's a few less production parts. And so therefore we're able to bring it in at this price. I'm really happy about that. I never have anything to do with that. It's always our production people. I just design this stuff. Sarah owns the company. Her and Ash and Steve and Jerry, they figure out all the rest of it. I don't even know where they sell for. I'm just worried about making them work and having fun, Pete.
Well, that's great. Hey, a couple other questions, and then I think we want to open it up to the group because these guys are chomping at the bit to just say hi to you and talk a little bit about what they're doing or their questions of you. First thing I'll say is that this mic that Bob, that you gave me to demo, we're going to be giving this away at the Jamboree this year. So for somebody who comes up to Branson for our event June 1st and 2nd, we'll be walking away with this microphone. So that'll be kind of fun. Next thing I wanted to ask you about, two things actually, the Pine Board project. And also, before you talk about Pine Board, talk about that parametric equalizer invention that you're going to be debuting at Dayton this year, and what that's going to mean to those of us hams that are just frustrated with the sound that's coming out of our radios.
Yeah, this is K9EID. Yeah, I'm going to bring it down to the Branson thing too. I've been working on this for years. I've absolutely hated every transceiver's receiver audio. And it goes way back. I was licensed in 1956. And I got involved in audio actually as the pipe organ. I play the Wurlitzer pipe organ in the theaters. And we had to voice and tune those things. And that's where I really learned to listen. A lot of people don't know how to listen. They just hear. Listening is mentally dissecting what you hear, all the harmonic value and what the sound is actually doing inside your head. I was very fortunate that I was at a young age of about 15, 16 years old, was brought aboard to learn how to voice a pipe organ. We're not talking about tuning, talking about harmonics and making each note beside the other one sound just like it as far as harmonics go. And then Paul Klipsch entered my life, and he really brought it aboard. And I've always wanted to do this. And I've done several things through my life, but nothing like this. I finally said, forget this, I'm going to do this. And what happens, you come out of, every receiver has an output in the back out of the product detector. In other words, it's before any of its audio. It's rich right out of the filters, the product detector. And you come out of that, and you come into this little box, and it's only about a foot by maybe 1.5 inches high. But it's a parametric equalizer for receive. So you can dial up whatever you want to hear. And there's a lot of guys that they're hard of hearing. As we get older, we lose a lot of top end. And for those that have that situation, and we all do at some time in our life, you can dial in. You can just crank up whatever is missing in your hearing. And it really works. You also can notch out some of the noise, and you don't do it with a digital noise filter. I hate all that stuff. And Bluetooth, and my description of Bluetooth is bu-bu-bu-bu-bu-bu-bu. It all has that bu-bu-bu-bu sound underneath what you really are looking for. I don't know why the world is so upside on this Bluetooth crap. It's not pretty. It's not natural. But oh boy, isn't it cool? No, it's not cool. And so we get rid of all that. This is all analog stuff. As my good friend Joe Walsh, he did an album called "The Analog Man in a Digital World." That's me. Joe and I together, we're digital. We're analog dudes in the digital world, and we got to put up with some of it. So I took care of that. We come out of that product detector, go into this little box, dial up what you want. Then here's the key also. Has its own speaker. That's another thing. It's ticked me off forever. They got 3-inch speakers, and that's all they ever are. If they're worth more than 50 or 60 cents, and trust me, guys, that's what these companies are paying for them. They're just garbage little speakers. They put them in a $100 box, paint it the same color. Oh, it's a matching speaker. No, it's not. And just like their microphones, none of these companies build their own mics. And we have a matching microphone. Nonsense. You got a microphone that comes from some offshore manufacturer that's painted the same color. Well, it's really sad because we've been hooked on it for years. Well, there's also answers for all of that now. But this parametric receive system, you're going to hear a lot about it. And once you hear it, it will be in your station. The speaker is a 5-inch speaker in a tuned cavity and a 3-inch tweeter, and its own amplifier is 25 watts at 0.1%. What we're dealing with in all of these transceivers. I don't know what this thing is, about $10,000, $12,000. ICOM sends these around for me all the time to test it because I worked for these companies. I built the equalizers and all, so they send them along for me to test. Same thing in all of them. I don't care what you paid for it. They all have the same problem. They're 1 watt, maybe 2 at 0.1. 10%. It drives me crazy because it has listener fatigue in it. And after a while, you get real tired. You almost get a headache. Listen to a lot of that distortion. It's not the noise. It's the distortion. And when you hear something that's really, really clean, it's like, whoa. So all this is coming, and it's just as I did back in 1982. I was the first guy that brought equalization to this market, and it changed it. You think about it. Equalization was never mentioned until I wrote an article, 1982 QST, got the cover award. I didn't know they had cover awards. And it changed the world of amateur radio because all of our transceivers have my EQ in them. And it really changed. Well, we're about to do that to the receiver. But they probably won't. They'll continue doing the crap that's in there. So that's a pretty good synopsis on the parametric receive system. And not very many have seen it, but we'll start getting it out here. We're hoping to have production started by Dayton, and we'll go from there. So that's the story on that, Pete, K9EID.
All right, very good, Bob. Two more questions, and we'll open it up for questions. First question is, and I'm dying to ask you this, so I'll ask you about the Pine Board project in a second, but what are your thoughts on the recent proposal by the ARRL on the proposed changes to the Novice band plan and the band qualifications for that? And I'll tell you that there's a lot of concern just based on the comments and the feedback we're getting just from our group here. A lot of concern about a number of things that will happen as a result of it, maybe unintended consequences. But your good big picture on this stuff. What do you think?
It's really tough to say. If everybody behaves, it'll be a wonderful thing. But there could be some horrible consequences with it. So I don't know. And we have to remember, guys, this is a proposal, a thought of the ARRL, and they have to convince the FCC. The FCC has nothing to say about this yet. And my take is I don't think the FCC is going to let it fly because they've got so many problems right now with the animals running around. If they did that, oh my. So I don't know. I don't know. I wish it would happen. I was a technician for 17 years. 1956, I got my license. But 6 meters and 2 meters. VHF was open 24/7. It was amazing. A lot of guys can't fathom that. But the sunspot cycle was the largest it's ever been. And you could get on with 10 watts and work the world. You could get on at 3 in the morning, 6 at night, 2 in the afternoon, and the band it sounded like 75 meters. It was fabulous. But we respected it. It was a gentleman's time. Just like there was a big war when the when the sideband came in. The AMers and the sidebands. I mean, we're talking about people would get somebody coming up to their door with shotguns saying, "Get off of my frequency." It was serious. And finally, a bunch of guys got together because the league wasn't going to do it. FCC wasn't going to do it. And if you weren't around, I was there. I was a young kid of about 18 when this all happened. They had a gentleman's agreement. How many of you know about the gentleman's agreement? You see, it kind of went by the wayside. But a lot of us that were there, we understand it. 3870 to 3890 is reserved for AM. You go listen every night. You will hear single sideband stations in there causing havoc. Well, you shouldn't do that. Let the AM guys, they only have just that little bitty slice. Sidebanders got the rest of the band. And gentleman's agreement is very important. 40 meters is 7290 to 7295, stuff like that. Those are the things, Pete, that I don't think will able to behold when we get all of that in here. It's going to be it's going to be very interesting if it happens.
All right, KE5GGY. All right, Dee, we're going to open up for questions in just a second. One more question for Bob Heil. And Bob, I'm going to follow up with you on the phone because I think one of the things we want to talk to our group about, because it's 3,000 strong, is what we can do especially during the comment portion of this, to make sure that our voices are heard. So again, we could probably talk off the air, and I'll get some thoughts to the guys. Tell us about the pine board project, and is it true that is being put together to get knuckleheads like me to finally venture into doing something technical?
It all started about 2 years ago on our AM group in the mornings, 3885. It's called the MoCam group. It's a group that's been there for, 20-some years. And about 2 years ago, Dick started coming in with his transceiver or his transmitter, and he built it on pine board, just the way we did back in the early days. All of us that were back in the 50s, even the 40s, that we built things on a piece of wood. And some people build it on your mother's pie pan. She wasn't able to make any more pies, but we couldn't afford chassis, and so every Monday of the week, they started a peanut whistle net, and you would run 5 watts. You guys should hear what you can do with 5 watts, because we don't do it. We all got to have a kilowatt. And I got intrigued. Here we are, guys running 1 and 2 tube transmitters AM on 3885 on Monday morning. I thought, this is cool. I built one up using W0BBT was kind of my mentor on that, because he'd been through it. And we did a transmitter that was an ARRL handbook back in 1953. It's got 6V6, and it's got a 6AG7. The 6AG7 is the final. 6V6 is a high-zine modulator. And I built a little preamp. It was the front end of a Fender Twin, because I put equalization. You have to have equalization, especially on AM. And so it's just the front end of a Fender Twin, 12AX7, a bass and treble and a high boost, and then put the power supply together. And it's really caused great stir in all of the market, because everybody is up and reading it now. Hundreds and hundreds are building it. And the league got so involved, they said, this is going to be good. And they put it on the cover of January. It won the cover award. I can't believe all that happened, guys. But Antique Electronics Supply, and there again, I had a lot of doom and gloomers. Oh, Heil, you're full of crap. You can't get the parts. Yes, you can. They've got kits. They got the power supply for the pine board. They got the pine board EQ preamp, and they got the pine board power final. And you can order just the kits if you want, each one of them or all of it. Antique Electric Supply, and it's great. You got a good junk box. That's how I built one, or I just built another one the other day. I didn't have to go anywhere, but that's 60-some years apart, because I don't throw anything away. But it's really fun to watch things go. I've got a 12-year-old girl that I've been talking to. She's building it with her dad, Virginia, down in Texas. She's never built before. She had to go buy a soldering iron. These are things that make this hobby grow, because we're doing things that are fun and we're learning things. So I'm really impressed with what happened to the pine board project. If you're not aware of it, you can go to our website. I didn't know what to do, because there's some great drawings that the guys have done. Gene W4IQN and Chip K9EID. These are all guys that came out of the chat room of Ham Nation and said, hey, we can help you. And boy, their drawings are beautiful. I didn't know what to do, so we put them at the bottom of the Heil Sound page. You go into heilsound.com, all the way down at the bottom of the ham radio page. There's about 50, 60 pages with these beautiful drawings, and it'll give you the whole story. And it all started on Ham Nation. I started building little things. I built a field strength meter first, and oh my gosh, everybody, hey, do more, and that's how the pine board was born. And we're just having fun. Give you a little future. I've got it working on 165 watts, and I'm putting a band switch on it, so you'll be able to band switch. Just turn a switch, 160, 75, and 40. How dang cool is that, Pete? This is K9EID.
There you go, for low power.
All right, guys. Hey, K9EID, KE5GGY. Let's open this up for questions for about 9 minutes. Who's out there that has a good question for Bob Heil? Call signs, please.
K5VWZ.
VWZ, Tom in Sargent, Texas. Come on in. It's all yours.
November 2, Hotel Foxtrot, Oscar Michael. I have a question that you mentioned, sweet spot for a microphone. I'm wondering if you could explain how a basic amateur can try to discover the sweet spot upon his microphone. You mentioned that very early in your presence there. Again, November 2, Hotel Foxtrot, Oscar Michael, over.
It's real simple. You should always monitor your signal. Every time I transmit, I don't care where it is, what frequency, I always have a second receiver and a pair of headphones, and I listen to myself. And so what you do, put your transmitter into a dummy load, be sure you do that, and do a dummy load, and talk to yourself, and just start moving around, and you will know the minute, see, I'm moving around. You'll hear the sweet spot, and it's not just how loud it gets. Listen to the harmonics of my voice, and as you move around, you'll find out in this one, the sweet spot is right here. I hope you understood that.
All right, let's go to
W5KW.
let's go to VWZ. He was the first one I was trying to get in. Tom from Sargent, Texas. Come on in and talk to Bob.
Okay, thank you, Pete. K9EID, K5VWZ. Bob, I certainly have enjoyed your products for a good number of years, and I'll look forward to the other products for the audio processing on the back end. Big fan of your equipment, running ICM on a Pro 6 for a long time, and this is a PR781 on a ICOM 7700 pushing the PW1 on the back end. I hope this sounds as good as you and Pete do. I'm quite impressed with Pete's signal when he swapped over to the PR77. That is a fine sounding microphone. But Bob, I want to put you on the spot for just a little bit of a second there. I got a good friend lives down the street, W5IO, Maury. I'm sure you know Maury from past experience, but what is your favorite transceiver that you like to match up to? I've become a great big fan of the ICOMs there, Bob, and thank you for joining us this evening. K5 of VWZ, name is Tom down here in Sargent, Texas, over.
Tom, it's easy. It's an ICO 720. It's a Novice transmitter. That's where I'm at most of the time on AM. Serious, it's really something, and all that. But the transceivers, they have a personality, just like a human being, and you have to learn to understand their personality. I truly believe Kenwood has they've led the pack until recently. They were always ahead of the game. There was a reason. They would let their RF engineers build the 520s, the 820s, the 870s, the 940s, and then when they would build the RF deck. When it came time to audio, remember, Kenwood has a very big presence in the hi-fi world, and especially car stereo. And they would carry this thing, just relatively speaking, they would carry this RF deck over to the other department and say, okay, audio guys, make it. And they would put this great audio in it. But something happened on the way. In recent years, it hasn't been that way. So I don't know. They kind of lost out on the audio trick because ICOM has really led the pack. And one of the reasons they did it is back in 2000, right in there, in 1999, Dr. Inouye, who owns ICOM, Inouye Communications, he called me and he sent me an email of his station, and it was an IC781. What a great transceiver that was. And in his station had one of my little EQ200s that was in the 1982 QST. Told you it changed the world. It really did back in those days, and it's carried on. He had that equalizer in my gold line. This is the guy that owns ICOM. I'm going, wait a minute. He said, I'm thinking about doing a new transceiver. I need to have your thoughts. And my thoughts were, put some equalization in it. And he did. So all of the, just about, there's a few that he missed, and I don't know why they didn't put EQ and the 480 and some of that. But anyway, the major ones, all the Pro Series and the 7300, 76, they all have the little 2-band EQ that I did back in 1982. Then Dr. Hasegawa, he says, I want to do it better. And so I helped them come up with the parametric EQ. I told them then there will be a problem. What could be the problem? The problem is education. It's very difficult to tune and adjust the parametric. And he thought he could take care of it. Well, he didn't. And that's been a problem with the Yaesu is education. We have some pages on our website. If you've never read it, there's a lot of stuff on there. There's a section under DSP called All Things ICOM, All Things Kenwood, All Things Yaesu, and so on and so on, Elecrafts. And I even have pictures of the front panels of how to set them up. And boy, you get that parametric EQ and a 781 or a BR40 or the 77. That's a beautiful thing. So if you get that all set, sometimes it's hard to tell if you have an ICOM, this is a 7851, or if you had a Yaesu 9000, whatever. It's all up to you. You are the engineer. You need to listen to your signal and really dissect what you hear and set it the way you like. And that's the answer on that one, Tom.
Okay, Bob. Well, thank you for that. I know others have other questions. Thank you for that. 7-3s, and thanks for joining us this night. K5VWZ. Back to you there, Pete.
Okay, we got time for one more quick one. Let's go to KF5AWP for a quick last question, then we're going to do a shout-out for Bob and send him off in style. KF5AWP. Go ahead, Jerry.
Thank you. Bob, this is Jerry, KF5AWP in Paris, Texas. And I have some questions on, you were talking about that, what improves your hearing. Now, I am a disabled veteran. I've had too many explosions next to my ear. I cannot do code because I can't differentiate between the tones. Now, are you saying that box would help me? Go ahead.
I would think it would, because you're going to be able to dial up frequencies that maybe will be lost in your hearing mechanism. Our ears and hearing, it is a mechanism. I would think it would help you. I know I've done some beta tests with guys that are hard of hearing. Oh my gosh, they one guy started crying. He couldn't believe how this helped him. He said, I don't hear like this, but now I can hear. And it's going to change the way a lot of us are enjoying amateur radio. So get this thing out. Send me an email, and maybe we can help you, Jerry. There was a guy in the thing tonight from the Collins group. These are the guys that work at Collins Radio. I do a lot of Skype presentations to clubs. I usually do a couple a week, and he complimented me on the HC4, which is a horrible sounding microphone, but it puts everything right at 2.5K, right where your ears need to hear the articulation. He took that down to his hearing aid lady and said, this is what I want to hear. And she followed my graph of the HC4, put it in his hearing aid, and he said, I've been happy ever since. So you see, it's all about where, what frequency, not level, high, low, whatever, bass cut. It's what frequency these filters are. And I bet you could be helped. I really think that. We'll have to get into it sometime, but HeilSound.com's got a lot of information, and don't be afraid or shy to email me. Just my call at ARRL, and I'd be glad to help. Put your telephone number, I'll call you. We'll get on the air. I love helping people, and I'm here, and we'll make it happen for you. Go ahead, Pete, K9EID.
All right, guys, and Bob, thank you for being with us tonight. It was great to get you in. We'll do this again. By the way, guys, Bob may make the Jamboree this year, so that'll be fun. June 1st and 2nd, we'll be in Branson, and it's just like an hour south of where Bob lives. So, Bob, we will look forward to possibly seeing you for that. And again, take Bob's offer seriously on the email. He's very good at responding. K9EID at ARRL, and that is correct, right, Bob? ARRL.net.
Yeah, that's the place.
All right. Well, let's give, as we say, thank you to Bob Heil, a very special guest tonight. Let's give Bob Heil a big 3916 thank you and send-off on this Thursday night. Guys, let's do it coast to coast.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. Sure, please. Hopefully next time get there to be much more so the 991
Thank you, Bob.
Bob kind of cut out by certain individuals, so thank you, Bob.
Sit in your audience, KF5GGY out of Arlington, Texas.
Thank you, Bob. W5SRT out of Fort Worth.
Get a chance to come on back. We'd love to hear more from you.
Thank you, Bob. Kilo Charlie 4.
Thank you, Bob. W5IFN.
Bob, it was wonderful hearing you. This is W4TJN from Scott.
About Atlantic City Boardwalk, Oregon, if you've ever...
Bob, I really enjoy your Hamvention.
I'd love to know what type of mic you recommend for the AG991. I hope I get to do that next time. W5QEG.
Hello, Bob from W1PG, Katy, Texas. Radio, KT0DD.
All right, guys.
Yeah, Pete, I hope next time you let me get in to ask him about the microphone for this 991. W5KW.
Hey, Pete, can you give me that call sign again, please? Down here in Oklahoma.
All right, guys. Thank you all. K9EID, thank you for being on tonight. Bob, we'll catch you next time here on 3916, okay?
Well, this is great, Pete. Thank you, and I appreciate all you guys with your questions. And if you have a club or a gathering, I did one here not long ago, and they kind of were embarrassed. There were 3 people in the club. I don't care if there's 2. I love doing it. Skype is a great method to doing that today. I'd be glad to spend an hour with your club. It's worth it. So keep it up. This is a great piece of ham radio right here. This is real-time radio, and I appreciate you keeping it going, Pete, and everybody else. We're going to see you in Branson. I'm going to do everything in my power to make that Branson thing happen. So, see you guys. K9EID. Bye-bye for now.
All right, Bob, just one question, and this will help me, because if I don't ask you this, I'll hear about it for the next 10 years. What's your recommended mic for the 991?
Well, I like the 781, but it's tough to tame. It really is tough, and I've been using the oh, come on here. Thought I was going to have to sneeze. I've been using the HM12. There's a real story about the HM12. I did that many years ago, 4 or 5. It was an interview mic for Fox News. They paid all the tooling, and they wanted the handle on it was about 2 feet long, so that when the news guys and gals could interview people, they wouldn't have to be stuck in their face. And it was all paid, and we built, I don't know how many of them for them. Everybody's happy. Fine. Well, Sarah, my wife, who owns Heil Sound, a couple of years ago said, we need to build a microphone that's really economical, but it can't be junk. It's got our name on it. And I got to look, and I said, wait a minute. That element, it was a very special open frame element, and it was beautiful for that service, speech and all that. So I grabbed that element, and I understand sometimes you can spend up to $20,000 to tool things. A lot of guys don't believe this, or they figure, well, there's nothing to do that. Yeah, it gets pretty crazy. And we had that paid for. And the contract was over. Nobody owned it. It was sitting on our shelves, all the tooling. So I did that. All we had to do is put a handle on it. Bingo. And here's a microphone under $100, and it's fabulous. ARRL bought 1,500 of them here around Christmas and gave them with all their radios. And that is a great microphone if you're ever thinking, what's going to work? HM12. It's really cool. No, it's not a PR40, but it's very close. It doesn't have all the low end in it, but it sure is good for articulation. I like it a lot. And that's really a great thing to look, especially for the 991, because those kind of transceivers don't have big, low-end, wide-band preamps in them anyway. So that's a great way to go, and you tame it real easy.
All right, Bob. Thank you, my friend, and good stuff from Bob Heil. This is KE5GGY. We're a little late to start the freewheelers, but better late than never. KI4BIY. What do you think, Bill? Can you follow and act like that? Pretty hard, huh? KE5GGY.
I tell you, Pete, it's going to be a hard time following that, and I tell you what, really enjoyed everything Bob talked about. Over.
Roger that. Well, it's time for the freewheelers, my friend. Sorry we're getting you started late, but it was a good cause tonight. QSL?
QSL, got a chance to finish a little bit of pizza there while I was going off. All right, let's get started here. CQ, CQ, CQ. Border to border and coast to coast. The Great White North and ships at sea. This is the Thursday night edition of the Freewheelers Net.